Welcome everybody, welcome to what is a series of presentations that we're putting together to reach out to our growers and business liaison group and really looking at reviewing last harvest and then planning for the harvest to come in 2021. We're probably going to put 4 or 5 short videos together, 10-minute videos that you can play, between your run lines or at night when you get home. So hopefully you find them worthwhile. Certainly give me some feedback, text message, emails, etc. And I'll try and cover off on that feedback as I move forward into the other videos. So I've got a series of 5 videos that will go through harvest review, the new Air Peninsula competitive supply chain, T-Port's supply chain that's now being placed in front of you, and on-farm storage, equipment, infrastructure, and then looking at freight rates, and that's a really important one. We've got some really exciting news on that one. So, and then from the freight rates and planning into the 2020 crop. So last harvest, obviously the crop was pretty ordinary in a lot of areas, but the numbers stacked up very well for us. To have 190 growers deliver into our 2 sites was just fantastic. 30% of the grain in the catchment zone was delivered to T-Ports in a poor year. That was another really good result. And of those 190 growers, 50% of them were the expression of interest growers who signed up for the $3 of shares initiative per tonne delivered back here about 18 months ago. And there'll be more news and paperwork come out to you guys on that very shortly. But really those numbers were very good given the season. We had new equipment, new staff, new offices, new portals. And that sounds really easy because it's nice and clean and new and bright and shiny, but at the end of the day they're not without their teething problems and wet commissioning, etc. So we're getting through that and really working on making sure that the next harvest is a lot better for everyone. Harvest started on the 14th of October, so it was a pretty early harvest, dry finish obviously, and went through to mid-December, which is about norm for Upper Air Peninsula. We had enough segregations there with H1, 2, APWAS, Bar 1 and Spartacus malt. We introduced our binning at the start of harvest to allow growers with those off-spec grades to deliver into the stack if the stack averages or quality would allow it to. And that was really successful. So our turnaround times in that 3-week period of harvest, Lucky Bay 42 minutes, and Lock 36 minutes, which wasn't too bad. I mean, Lucky Bay probably won't get any, it'll get a little bit better, but it won't be massively fantastic purely because it's just a big site. And there's about 7 or 8 minutes of travelling in a truck at 20 kilometres an hour just to get around the site. So because of the nature of the site, it'd be good to get those turnaround times at Lucky Bay to probably 35, 36 minutes, which would be realistic. So after harvest, we conducted a grower survey. Thank you to those growers who gave their feedback. There was a very good response. It was timely, it was transparent, it was a bit raw, which is exactly what we needed at the end of the day, to really focus on areas where we need to improve coming into this next harvest. So the number one, resounding piece of feedback was you need more buyers, you need more traders participating on site, not just to post prices at harvest time, but to forward contract as well into the coming crop. So we're working really hard as we speak right now. Obviously with the supply chain now is complete. We've loaded 4 grain vessels by the time you see this video. So the supply chain now has liquidity. And I know numerous traders are excited now to want to participate into the Lucky Bay supply chain, which is perfect for us. The site improvements, it was evident that the weighbridges, had their issues, not from an accuracy perspective. Our data is extremely stable and secure, but from an infrastructure perspective on site, with the fences might need lifting to stop the wind, not allowing the bridge to re-zero before the truck arrives to weigh. So there's an efficiency issue there that we need to fix, and some hardware issues in the driver control station on really hot conditions that didn't seem to cope and just blanked out. we had to go and reset, etc. So things there we need to fix, obviously. Paddock name and everything, because there's some information there on the weigh note that we've already fixed, which is a good thing. Drive over hoppers, increase tonnes per hour. Singles tipping onto the pad. Now that's really important, especially in a big year, to increase your tonnes per hour on site. And staffing classification huts, yeah, you know, sometimes we were under resourced in those huts. So, you know, the planning, recruitment, etc., is a high focus coming into this crop. A grower portal, yeah, sure, it was clunky. It was something new to a lot of growers, and we are looking forward to really upgrading that portal and making it iPhone and iPad friendly, and getting that clunkiness out of the system to make it a bit easier for you guys to use. Interesting comment that come back in the grower survey, and it's really regular when I speak to growers and the BLG about, you know, how are we going to cope next harvest? Well, you know, a classic comment here is we're 120 to 140 kilometres from Lucky Bay. In an average season, we'll need to have more trucks available and more on-farm storage. That is absolute fact, that will need to be the case for a lot of growers. And we are certainly here to help you through that scenario with freight rates and carries that will be coming available for the coming crop. But that comment will resonate throughout the next the series of videos that we'll present. BLG feedback, you know, thanks very much guys for your feedback. It's always welcomed. I enjoy it. I really enjoy talking to you guys and growers. So, you know, the main focus was obviously the traders, more traders and that coming on, participating, decreasing the turnaround times on site, maximising the tonnes per hour of the machines, which is probably a bit more about operator education and awareness, and a bit of driver education as well. And from my perspective, you know, asking the growers, what plans do you have to keep the header going 100% of the time whilst delivering into Lock or Lucky Bay supply chain? And how would you summarise or have you tracked the savings from last harvest using T-ports versus, you know, others in previous years? And when looking to do a forward contract for this coming harvest, you know, what position will you take with the trade? You know, ADM and Centre State, FlexiGrain, Clear Grain Exchange, there'll be others come on board. They've got choices in supply chains, you've got choices in supply chains. There's one supply chain that's a lot more efficient and closer to you guys, and you're in a position to bargain now. So prepare for the phone call and make your position very clear to the trade that, you know, if they want your product into Lucky Bay, you're prepared to take it there, absolutely. And sometimes the upcountry site price is not necessarily the best price. So whilst you might get text messages out there in relation to, you know, the best upcountry site price, you probably won't get a text message saying or identifying the price of the on-farm storage silo bag scenario contracted into Lucky Bay after harvest for a post-harvest delivery. And quite often, that is actually your best farm gate price. Really important that I think growers and us work together on identifying the best farm gate price for you guys, and that involves using your truck or a carrier's truck to the upcountry site at Lock, for example, at T-ports, or using your own truck and carrier direct to Lucky Bay. And there'll be a lot more on that scenario in the next few presentations. So it's interesting, you know, perhaps don't just look at the best site price, think about the model that's now surrounding you guys, that you've got a choice and areas where you can really hone in on to get the best dollar return into your pocket. So quickly, take-home messages, we're absolutely listening. Thanks for the responding to the harvest grower survey. We're here for the long term, guys. We're working on Wallaroo already. Lucky Bay is finished. We've got some really exciting projects. Notwithstanding getting this one absolutely fine-tuned and spot on, ready for harvest. We're partners, we're growing together. I love your feedback, and things have changed. The take-home message from this video is things have changed on the Eyre Peninsula. We've loaded 4 boats through Lucky Bay, Teaport supply chain. You now have a real option to export your grain. Have a look at resetting, refining, retuning, potentially your business model on farm on how best to subtract those dollars and put them straight back in your pocket, because there's some real incentives to do so. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you on the next video. Cheers.